I can't even begin to tell you how many women I meet in perimenopause who are trying so hard to feel better, but end up frustrated because they feel like they're chasing their tails. And the advice that they've been given just is not working. And it makes sense. These perimenopause trends are everywhere. People are capitalizing on it. It's on social media, podcasts, articles, influencers galore. It sounds convincing. And sometimes these tips even work for maybe a little while. What makes me furious is that women are already usually short on time and energy. And some of these trends are wasting so much of their time and their energy and money on these strategies that don't actually serve them, and they're left blaming themselves or feeling like they're broken or just more complicated. And I see it every single day. Not only am I going through perimenopause myself, I am surrounded by friends who are also going through this too, but I am also a nutritional therapy practitioner, and I specialize in perimenopause and helping women get through this phase without having to white knuckle their way through it, and so they can feel a little bit more like themselves again. And today I'm coming to you from my kitchen because I wanted to get out of my office, so pardon me having to hold this mic. It's a little awkward, so bear with me. Today, I want to break down 5 perimenopause trends that I continue to see over and over again that might look helpful on the surface and maybe have a little bit of truth to them, but are actually keeping a lot of women stuck. And I see it all the time. And I'll share better ways to support your body. That sound good? Okay. Let's get into it. So the first one are fasting trends. So fasting until noon, skipping breakfast, that sort of thing. And I've talked about fasting a lot. In fact, I will link to a video where I do a deep dive if you want to go there. And it's appealing because it looks simple. In fact, it looks easier. We don't have to eat breakfast. There's one less meal we need to care about. That's amazing. And supposedly you'll burn fat. There's autophagy. There's a whole bunch of different benefits to it. And it will help you feel more focused and even balance out your hormones. And for some women in their 20s and 30s, this worked. But in perimenopause, not only is your body likely more stressed because the house in which you live in is not quite the same as it used to be, but we are also less stress resilient, meaning we can't recover from stress quite as much. So fasting itself is a stressor. You're not giving fuel to your body. When we have a stressor, we are increasing cortisol within the body. And that is already naturally higher in the morning. So skipping breakfast then pushes it even more. That can lead to blood sugar crashes later in the day, anxiety, energy dips, and intense cravings at night. That was the case with me. And the worst part is then that women feel sometimes that they need to fast harder. They're not doing it right. And that's not true. And it's not that you don't have enough willpower, when in reality, it's the wrong strategy for this phase of life for most women. Now, if you are sitting here and you're saying, well, I intermittent fast and I feel great, then that's awesome. You do you. Continue to tune in to figure out if that continues to serve you. You do what you want. But for a lot of other women, we cannot handle this extra stress. This was me included. So we need to continuously fuel the body so we are not adding to our stress bucket. So instead, eat a protein-rich breakfast within 60 minutes of waking. And if you are an early workout person like myself, make sure that you are giving yourself some fuel, specifically carbohydrates, hopefully balanced with a little bit of protein before your workout. And then you are eating within 60 minutes after your workout to help refuel your body. This can help stabilize blood sugar, this can lower stress hormones, and keep your energy steady all day long. And if you do want to fast, I would argue that the better time to do it is in the evening. When your digestion is already slowing, that is when the body is starting to slow down to get ready to do a deep sleep. So that is a better time to either eat a smaller dinner or eat earlier and see how that works for you. But for some people, that can also mess with sleep. But if I were to pick between a morning fast or an evening fast, I would choose that you pull back a little bit on your dinner timing and make that a little bit earlier. I'm not saying that intermittent fasting does not work for some people. Every single thing when it comes to health is a nuanced conversation, but it is definitely not something that I would first recommend to anyone to try if they are trying to better support their body. The next one is cutting carbs to balance your hormones or to lose weight. And it's appealing because at this point, carbs have been demonized for decades. Keto or low carb diets are everywhere, and women are told that carbs are the reason that they're gaining weight in their 40s. But the truth is that when this stress bucket is overflowing and we are less stress resilient, carbs are actually beneficial. They're essential for thyroid function, so keeping your metabolic function humming. They also are beneficial for serotonin, which is that feel-good brain chemical, and they're also essential for sleep. So when you cut carbs too low, this was absolutely the case for me, you often end up more stressed. It can make you more wired at night or make you wake up in the middle of the night, and that then makes you exhausted during the day. Also, carbs play a big role when it comes to replenishment of glycogen within your muscles, and that can help build our muscles, which is another thing that we need in this stage, and I will talk more about that in another step. Now, again, carbs are a nuanced conversation. There are certainly some times where pulling back on it can be used for therapeutic reasons, for certain diseases and metabolic dysfunction. So there is a time and a place, but it is not the thing that I would recommend for most perimenopausal women. And I'm furious about this one because women waste months or even years feeling worse and potentially causing further dysfunction when all along their body just needed the right kind of fuel. I personally went low carb for quite a few years and I saw a direct impact in my thyroid function. And that is not an uncommon story. So instead, focus on quality carbs. So I'm talking fruits, root veggies, squashes, potatoes, beans, legumes. Those are wonderful sources of carbohydrates that not only give your brain and your muscles more fuel, but they're also filled with really great nutrients like minerals and antioxidants. So for most women, it can be a big problem when we just cut them out. And the next trend is eating only 1,200 calories. 1,200 calories is not enough for the average woman. We burn over 1,200 calories just sitting here doing nothing at all. So that does not include our 10,000 steps that we're doing, or our weightlifting that we're doing, or chasing our kids all over the place, or running errands, or doing any of those other things that we are doing. The goal is to eat as much as we can to support our body without gaining fat. So what happens when we do not give our body enough fuel is we are depleting our body of nutrients. We are also not giving our muscles enough fuel to be able to grow and build. And overall, we are not giving our body enough to be able to function. And when that happens, our body down regulates to create safety and to really preserve those systems that are most important for us to survive, which is not a safe place for your body to be. And that ends up making us lose muscle, which also decreases our metabolism and has a cascade of other problems. I will link to a video where I go into this more in depth. This one really makes me furious because it makes women gain more weight long term. The more we continue to restrict our calories, the more your body feels unsafe, the more it downregulates your metabolism, and then this ends up causing more dysfunction, along with disease from not fueling ourselves properly because we're losing muscle, because we're not maintaining bone health, because we're not supporting other systems that are very important for our body to survive and thrive. Okay, off my soapbox on that one. The next one is blindly supplementing. This one I'm furious at the companies who are marketing these because they're very good at it. They make supplements feel like they are that missing piece, and they also make you feel like you're taking action, like you're actually doing something. And sometimes, best case scenario, they do give you a little boost, and that's great. But without testing, supplements are just guesses. And that leads to wasted money, a cupboard full of half-empty bottles, and sometimes it makes symptoms even worse or pops up a new symptom that seems unrelated, and now you're chasing after another thing. And I see so many women more confused than ever and taking more supplements than they ever have. And I also feel like sometimes supplements are used to overcompensate for a different area. And sometimes that can help, but supplements are not magic pills. It cannot forgive all of our sins. So for example, let's say you are taking melatonin, you're doing all the magnesium, you're taking L-theanine, you are stacking it up on those supplements for sleep, but you are also watching a screen or scrolling as you're sitting in bed. You're eating a little too close to bedtime, so your digestion is also higher. You are not following any bit of a bedtime routine that helps tell your brain it's time to start shutting down. Supplements cannot overcompensate for those things. Those are other things that need to be taken care of first, and then supplements are just sort of that cherry on top. And supplements can help, but only if they are targeted for your specific needs. And every single woman is so different. This is why I love comprehensive blood work, because it gives us those insights into different nutrient deficiencies or different imbalances correlated with the symptoms that you're feeling, so you can have that very targeted, personalized approach for what your needs are, and then you're not wasting a boatload of money on these other supplements that aren't even relevant to what your body is currently going through. Hey, if this has been helpful for you at all, I would love it if you would hit like, subscribe, or share it with a friend. It helps more women find this kind of information during this incredibly confusing life stage. Thank you. And the next trend is working harder and harder, not necessarily smarter when it comes to our workouts. And I blame the fitness industry for this one. We have been told for years that if you're not sweating buckets and you're not a big puddle on the floor, then you're not doing enough. And yes, boot camps can be fun, they can be social, they can be motivating, and they certainly can have a place. But the reality is that doing endless cardio or daily high intensity interval sessions can spike cortisol, it can drain energy, and it is simply not as effective at building muscle. And that is what women desperately need, especially once we hit the age over 40. In fact, from 30 and beyond, we start losing at least 3 to 8% of our muscle mass every single decade, and that accelerates in perimenopause. That means that if you were to do exactly the same things that you did in your 20s and 30s to be able to maintain, you would automatically be losing 3 to 8% of your muscle mass. And that's a really big problem because muscle is a fantastic tissue for metabolic health, for bone health, for cardiovascular health. Muscle has endless benefits, and when we start to lose that at such a fast pace, that causes a cascade of other issues for health in the body. And because we already have less stress resiliency, like I talked about before, we cannot afford to add more stress into our bucket that is not giving us the biggest bang for our buck. So that means that we are lifting, and we are lifting heavy. And when it comes to our cardiovascular health, we are being smart about it. We're choosing exercises that are minimizing the stress and maximizing the reward. That's why I love progressive overload strength training, meaning that you are continuously challenging the muscle with either heavier weights or more reps to failure, and paired with walking. Walking is fantastic because it helps with those cardiovascular needs, but it also is one that does not overly stress the body. So we are decreasing the stress while maximizing the benefits of movement. Certainly HIIT can be added in and it can be beneficial, but it needs to be incredibly strategic in order for it to be effective. I will link to another video where I go more in depth with my thoughts about exercise and how to be most strategic about it in this life stage. And it's not to say you can't continue to do those boot camp workouts if you absolutely love them, but also understand that they may not be serving you in a way that they are marketed to think that they are serving you. And so pulling back on them and increasing other strength training activities that are truly building muscle and minimizing stress is the more effective way to go. So you can keep those workouts that you enjoy, but adding progressive overload strength training sessions, which means gradually lifting heavier weights and pushing your muscles close to that failure, is what preserves your muscle, it builds your muscle, it supports your metabolism, and helps protect your bones as you age. And the last trend is that we are being marketed all of these quick fixes in general. And I blame social media for this. I mean, the good thing is there is more talk than ever about perimenopause and menopause, and that's amazing. We're finally getting the attention it deserves for this life stage that can be very challenging to have to navigate. But that also comes with a lot of noise. This is where women jump onto things really quickly, like cold plunging and saunas and red light therapy and HRT, which is fantastic, but in the right cases, weighted vests, you name it. We're all hoping that this will help. And all of these things can help with the right foundations in place. So none of these things are bad on their own. But the problem is when we're doing all of those, but we're not focusing on the things that are the true drivers of hormone health, which is sleep, balanced blood sugar, gut health, nervous system regulation, eating enough and of the right foods. None of those tools can compensate for deficiencies in those other areas. So this one makes me furious because women end up spending hundreds, thousands of dollars and a lot of their precious time on the latest hacks only to feel exactly the same. The basics are what matters most. Think of your hormone health like a triangle, like the hierarchy of needs. You've got the base level, which is the foundations. This is sleep. This is nutrition, blood sugar regulation, getting inflammation under control, eating enough and of the right foods to have enough nutrients. These all need to be in place before we start to do any of those higher activities that can be icing on the cake. Those are the things like hormone balancing supplements, cold plunges. And I'm not saying that some of those things can't be beneficial to give you motivation to keep going. And if that's the case, great. Like if it's giving giving you an incremental difference in how you feel to help keep you motivated, awesome. But they are only going to take you so far because they are not going to transform those other areas of dysfunction. They are never going to replace the benefits of getting enough sleep, eating a nutrient-dense, well-balanced diet, and a lifestyle that supports good health. I'm not blaming women for any of these. It's not the women who are making me furious. It's the industry. Social media and the wellness industry have made things super confusing. And women are paying the price in wasted time and wasted energy and wasted money and feeling worse and more confused instead of better. So I'm more furious that women aren't getting the right information to actually feel good in their 40s and beyond. Have you been victimized by any of these trends? Let me know in the comments, or let me know if any of these are actually working for you. I love to hear all experiences. So please let me know if you have anything to share. But here's the good news. When you focus on the foundations first, your body responds. You feel better, you have better energy, and everything else becomes easier to make some of those other incremental steps happen. I will link to a whole series that I created on this called the Perimenopause Playbook. It goes through all of the foundations with detailed steps in each of them to better support your hormone health. And I will link to it right here. All right, you got this, and I'm here with you every step of the way. See you in the next one.